I want to tell you something that nobody in finance content will ever tell you. I was not born with money. I did not have a mentor. I did not go to a business school. I did not have connections. I did not have a plan. What I had was a job that paid just enough to keep me too tired to think about anything else. And I stayed in that loop, working, paying bills, working, paying bills, until one day I asked myself the most important question I had ever asked in my life. If I keep doing exactly what I am doing right now, where will I be in 10 years? The answer scared me so much that I could not sleep that night. And that night, that one sleepless night, was the beginning of everything. I put a lot of research into this video, not just from books and studies, but from my own life, from my own failures and wins, from every step I took to go from stuck to free. And I genuinely believe that what I am about to share with you today has the ability to completely change your life if you stay until the end and actually apply it. This is not a motivational speech. This is a real story with real steps and real results. Let us start from the very beginning. Chapter 1. I saved money, and it taught me the most boring and most important lesson of my life. I know, saving money sounds like the least exciting advice anyone can give. Every finance video says save money. Every parent says save money. You have heard it 1,000 times. But here is what nobody tells you about saving money. It is not about the money. It is about the discipline. When I started saving, I was not saving large amounts. I could not. I was working long hours and coming home with just enough. But I made one decision that changed everything. I decided that before I paid anyone else, before rent, before bills, before food, I paid myself first. 10%, every single time money came in, no exceptions. It was uncomfortable. There were months where it felt impossible. But here is what happened that I did not expect. Saving that money did not just build a fund, it built a muscle, a mental muscle, the muscle of delayed gratification, the muscle of choosing your future over your present comfort. And that muscle, that one muscle, is the foundation of every financial decision I have ever made since. After months of consistent saving, I had something I had never had before in my life. A buffer, a small amount of money that nobody had a claim on, that was not already spoken for, that was mine to use, not to survive, but to move. And that buffer, that small, uncomfortable pile of saved money, was the fuel for everything that came next. Chapter 2. I started selling perfumes, and it taught me that money follows value. I did not start a perfume business because it was my passion. I started it because I needed to learn how to sell, and perfumes were something I understood, something I could buy, package, and offer to people around me. I started small, really small. A few bottles, friends and family first, then colleagues, then people I barely knew. And something happened that changed how I saw the entire world. People paid me for something I had chosen, curated, and presented. Not my time, not my hours, my judgment, my taste, my effort in finding something they could not be bothered to find themselves. That was my first real lesson about money. Money does not follow hard work. Money follows value. And value is simply solving a problem that someone else has better than they could solve it themselves. Selling perfumes also taught me something nobody talks about. It taught me to be comfortable asking for money. Most people are terrified to charge for their work. They undervalue themselves constantly. They feel guilty about profit. I learned early that profit is not greed. Profit is evidence that you created something worth more than it cost you. And without profit, there is no growth, no reinvestment, no next step. Every sale I made, every coin I earned from those bottles went back into the buffer, back into the fund, growing, ready. Chapter 3. I published apps on the Play Store, and it taught me the most powerful concept in wealth building. This was the chapter that changed everything. I had no computer science degree. I had no coding background. What I had was a problem I wanted to solve, a simple one, and the willingness to figure out how to build something that solved it. I taught myself. I built something simple. I published it. It was not an overnight success.
It earned almost nothing at first. But here is the thing that broke my brain the first time I understood it. While I was sleeping, the app was available. While I was eating, someone could download it. While I was working my regular job, the app was sitting on a server somewhere being discovered by people I had never met. For the first time in my life, I had created something that could earn without me being there. That concept, that one idea, is called passive income, and the moment you truly understand it, not just intellectually but emotionally, your relationship with money changes completely. Because every hour you have ever worked, you traded that hour for money. 1 hour, 1 payment, then it was over. But an app, a digital product, a piece of content, those work after you stop. They scale past your hours, they reach people you will never meet, they earn from countries you have never visited. I was still working my regular job, but for the first time, something else was working too. And that feeling, that quiet notification of a download or a purchase while you are doing something else entirely, is the feeling that separates people who build wealth from people who only earn it. Chapter 4. I went into stocks, and it taught me that knowledge is the most valuable investment. With savings built, with a small side income from the apps, with a profit mindset from the perfumes, I turned to the stock market. And I made every mistake a beginner makes. I bought on emotion, I sold on fear, I chased trends, I followed tips on people who had no business giving tips. I lost money. Not cataclysmically, but enough to hurt, enough to teach. And then I stopped, and I studied. I spent months just learning before I invested another dollar. Not just reading news, not just watching YouTube. I learned the fundamentals. What makes a company valuable, how earnings drive stock price, what a PE ratio actually means, why the index always beats most individual stock pickers over the long run. I learned about Warren Buffett, who spent 60 years proving that buying great companies at fair prices and holding them patiently beats every short-term strategy ever invented.
And I realized something profound. The stock market is not a casino. It is not a lottery. It is not a place for gamblers. It is a machine, a wealth compounding machine that rewards people who understand how it works and punishes people who treat it like a slot machine. The knowledge I built in that period changed every financial decision I have made since. Because when you understand markets, when you understand how money moves, how inflation works, how compounding functions, you stop making fear-based decisions. You start making knowledge-based decisions. And knowledge-based decisions compound just like money does. Chapter 5. I got deep into financial education, and it taught me that the biggest ROI in the world is investing in your own understanding. Every book I read, every concept I studied, every principle I applied, each one paid returns that no stock market has ever matched. Understanding inflation saved me from leaving money in accounts that were quietly robbing me. Understanding assets versus liabilities stopped me from buying things that looked valuable but were actually draining me. Understanding compounding made me patient in a world that rewards instant gratification. Understanding risk made me brave in a world where most people are paralyzed by fear. Financial education is not a nice-to-have. It is the most practical, most high-return, most life-changing investment a person can make, and it is almost entirely free. Books, videos, podcasts, conversations with people who have done it before. The gap between where I was and where I am now, that gap was not filled with luck. It was not filled with a windfall. It was not filled with a shortcut. It was filled with a sequence. Savings gave me discipline and a buffer. Selling perfumes gave me a profit mindset and market experience. Building apps gave me passive income and scale. Stocks gave me a long-term wealth vehicle. And financial education tied it all together into a system I could run for the rest of my life. Here's what I want you to take from this video. You do not need to follow my exact path. You do not need to sell perfumes. You do not need to build apps. But you need the principles behind each step. Save first, not what is left over. Always. Build the discipline before you build the income. Sell something, anything, and learn that money follows value. Learn to be comfortable charging for what you create. Build something that earns without you, a product, a channel, a system, something that works when you are not working. Invest in markets with knowledge, not emotion, not tips, not trends. Study before you invest. And never stop learning about money, because the more you understand it, the more of it comes toward you. The rat race does not end because you run faster. It ends because you stop running it the same way everyone else does. This video is the beginning of that ending. Comment "Rat Race Free" below if you are ready to start your own chapter. Subscribe, because this channel is the financial education I wish I had at the very beginning of my journey. And I will see you in the next one.